Do you feel guilty for not feeling loved by the person who should have loved you the most? That question stings, but maybe it hurts because deep down, you've silently asked yourself that very thing. Society built an almost untouchable myth that every mother loves, protects, and cares, that maternal love is unconditional, instinctive, flawless. But what if it's not? What if your relationship with your mother left behind traces of absence, rejection, coldness, constant criticism, or excessive control? Is that still love? Many people grow up thinking their pain is drama, ingratitude, or being overly sensitive. They learn to swallow their tears, downplay their own story, and smile while carrying an invisible weight on their back. But denying that pain only prolongs the suffering. It's time to break the silence and, more importantly, break the myth. Mother wounds are real and they don't start with you, but they can end with you. Today, I'm going to show you how to recognize this emotional wound and how to start freeing yourself from it in a practical way. And at the end of this video, I'll give you a challenge that could completely change your story, just like it changed mine. The mother wound isn't just a sad memory. It's like an invisible scar etched deep inside our psyche, one that's been there since childhood. It shows up when, for whatever reason, the mother wasn't able to give the affection, attention, or care the child needed. Sometimes that's because she herself was hurting, too. We can break this wound down into two major types, the active wound and the subtle wound. The active wound is more obvious. It stems from experiences like emotional, physical, or verbal abuse, neglect, abandonment, or direct violence. It's the kind of pain that leaves visible marks and is often recognized as trauma. The subtle wound, on the other hand, is harder to identify but just as destructive. It shows up in overly protective, controlling, hypercritical mothers who smother with conditional love or turn their daughter into a best friend, flipping the parent-child dynamic. In these cases, the child grows up believing they have to become something to earn love. It's like sweet poison. It looks like care, but it's a kind of affection that distorts a child's identity. Authors like Peg Streep in Mean Mothers and Alice Miller in The Drama of the Gifted Child show how these experiences build up into patterns that bleed into adulthood, especially when they're left unacknowledged. Carl Jung brings a symbolic and archetypal perspective. The mother is the first image of the world. When that image fails, the child doesn't just feel pain. They build an inner world where love is unstable, affection is dangerous, and the self must be reshaped to survive emotionally. It's like the emotional ground beneath your feet is cracked. You walk, live, love, but always afraid you'll fall. That's why understanding this wound is the first real step toward healing, not to point fingers, but to name what hurt. Because once it's named, it can finally be embraced. And once you start numbing it, something incredible happens. You realize that this pain isn't just one thing. It's spread into your life in ways you might not even recognize, ways that became almost invisible wounds, but ones that still bleed today. You could spend years feeling like something's wrong with you without realizing that this feeling comes from an old, invisible, unacknowledged wound. The mother wound, especially when unnamed, disguises itself in behaviors that seem like part of your personality, but are actually defense mechanisms built to cope with a love that was never reliable. Maybe you find it hard to trust others, always expect the worst, feel like you'll be abandoned, betrayed, or used. That constant distrust may not have started with a romantic betrayal, but with a childhood where your mother's love was unpredictable, unstable, or conditional. Maybe you don't even trust yourself, feel like you're never good enough, that everything you do needs someone's approval, validation, or revision. That kind of insecurity often comes from mothers who were overly critical, always comparing, demanding perfection, and teaching, without saying it out loud, that making mistakes meant losing love. If setting boundaries feels impossible, if you feel guilty for saying no, if you accept things that hurt you just to keep the peace, that too might be an emotional inheritance. Many mothers made their children believe that love only came with obedience, sacrifice, and self-erasure. A distorted self-image, fear of being seen, shame about your body or your voice. These are all traces of a childhood where being your true self didn't feel safe. The fear of relationships, of loving and being loved, doesn't come from the present. It comes from a past where love meant pain and affection was followed by rejection. Hypersensitivity, the feeling that everything hurts more for you, isn't weakness, it's adaptation. It's a nervous system trained early on to detect the smallest hint of rejection. And the pain of repeating emotional patterns, same types of partners, same cycles of pain, it's not bad luck. It's your unconscious trying to heal a wound from the past through your present. But the truth is, all these wounds share a common root, something that was planted long ago in your earliest years and still defines how you love or how afraid you are to love. From your very first days of life, all you needed was a look that said, "You're safe here." The way that look was given or withheld shaped much more than you realize. It shaped how you connect to the world, how you see yourself, how you relate to others. That's what we call an attachment pattern. Attachment theory explains how emotional bonds formed in childhood determine our emotional responses throughout life. And the central figure in that bond is almost always the mother. When that figure offers consistent affection, emotional presence, and predictability, the child develops secure attachment. That means they grow up feeling they can trust others, that they're worthy of love, that the world is a place where it's safe to express themselves without fear of rejection. But when love is unstable, cold, smothering, or absent, insecure attachment patterns emerge, and that's where the mother wound silently sneaks into the way you connect with others. Anxious attachment is born when the child lives in fear of losing love. The mother is present but in unpredictable ways, sometimes loving, sometimes critical, sometimes distant. This creates adults who live on edge, afraid of being abandoned, who love too much, who become overly demanding, who shrink themselves just to avoid losing someone. Avoidant attachment develops when a child learns that expressing emotions doesn't help. The mother is cold, rigid, invalidates feelings. The result is adults who distance themselves emotionally, who run from intimacy, who keep control as a shield against pain. Disorganized attachment is a mix of both extremes. It appears when the mother is both a source of love and fear, like in cases of abuse or emotional violence. The child grows up confused, unsure whether to come close or pull away. This leads to chaotic relationships, self-sabotage, and a deep fear of oneself. What all these patterns have in common is the same root: the quality of the bond with the mother. The wound doesn't just come from what happened, but also from what didn't, the embrace that was missing, the silence that lasted too long, the words that never came. And the most important thing, these patterns are not a life sentence. They're a map. Recognizing your attachment pattern opens the door to understanding why certain relationships hurt so much and why, despite the pain, you sometimes stay stuck in them. Because inside you, there's an image of your mother that goes far beyond the woman who raised you. There's a mother who lives in your head, who whispers in your ear, and who many times is far harsher than the real person ever was. When we think of our mothers, we usually picture the real woman, her face, her actions, her words. But inside us, there's something deeper, the psychic mother, the internal image formed through lived experience. It's with her that we often keep dialoguing throughout life. Carl Jung called this image the archetype of the Great Mother, a universal symbol present in the collective unconscious, representing both care and danger. The archetypal mother has two sides: the light side tied to nurturing, comfort, unconditional love, and the dark side tied to control, suffocation, guilt, and abandonment. The thing is, when the real mother wounds us, the inner image formed tends to be dominated by that dark side. You can grow up and leave her house, but still be trapped by this inner presence that judges you, demands from you, silences you. It's that voice in your head saying you're not enough, that you're wrong, that you have to please to be worthy. At that point, the wound no longer needs the mother to be present. It stays alive within you, like a silent emotional recording stuck on repeat. And that's why healing the mother wound doesn't depend on your actual mother changing. It depends on transforming your inner mother. This is one of the most liberating truths in depth psychology because, as long as you believe you need your mother's approval to be happy, you'll stay trapped. But when you realize that what really holds you back is the image you carry of her inside you, that's where healing begins. Transformation doesn't happen by trying to change who she was, but by rebuilding how you relate to that psychic presence. It's like renovating the emotional house you live in, swapping suffocating walls for breathing windows, replacing pressure with compassion, fear with strength, silence with listening. And this disconnection wasn't random. You didn't just wake up one day and decide to lose yourself. Little by little, you put on masks, hid pieces of yourself, silenced your voice until you forgot what your own face looked like. From early on, you learned that you had to be someone else to be accepted. And so, over time, you built a persona, a social mask. It's the version of you that smiles when you want to cry, says, "I'm fine," when you're falling apart, that tries to be what others expect, even when it hurts who you truly are. Jung called this mask the persona. It's not fake, but it is incomplete. It helps you survive in the world, but when you over-identify with it, you start to forget who you really are underneath. And very often, this persona was shaped by your relationship with your mother. You became the easy child, the daughter who doesn't cause trouble, the adult who constantly seeks validation without even realizing it. Meanwhile, everything that wasn't accepted, your anger, your sadness, your fear, your desires, got thrown into the shadow. The shadow is the basement of the unconscious. It's where you locked away the parts of yourself that were too judged to be seen. But what's repressed doesn't disappear. It comes back in the form of anxiety, guilt, self-sabotage. It returns in your relationships, your repeated patterns, your sudden emotional outbursts. At the center of it all is the mother complex, a set of unconscious emotions and memories centered around the image of the mother. When this complex is triggered, you react with the same pain you felt as a child. You could be 30, 40, 50 years old, but in that moment, you feel like a lost child trying to please, craving love, or battling a void that was never filled. These mechanisms pull you away from your true self because you start living in reaction mode, shaping your life to avoid pain, to avoid rejection, to earn a love that may never come. But the love you're looking for out there can only be born when you reconnect with what was left behind. Recognizing your persona is the first step to taking off the mask. Facing your shadow is the path to reclaiming your strength. Understanding your mother complex helps you see when it's the past reacting, not you in the present. And it's not just about your relationships with others, it's about your relationship with love itself. Because the way you love today might actually be a repetition of what you learned from her. You might think you're the one choosing who you get involved with, but often it's the image of your mother inside you that's choosing. Jung said we all carry a contrasexual archetype in the unconscious. In men, it's the anima, an inner representation of the feminine. In women, it's the animus, an inner masculine figure. And these images are largely shaped by how we related to the opposite-sex parent in childhood. For men, that's their relationship with their mother. For women, it's their father. But in the case of the mother wound, this influence can be even stronger. Men who were emotionally hurt by their mother or received unstable love often develop a wounded anima. This anima shows up in relationships as an unconscious filter. They feel drawn to emotionally unavailable, difficult, or overly demanding women because they're unconsciously trying to resolve their pain with their mother through their partner. They search in romantic love for the acceptance they didn't get in childhood. Women, on the other hand, often develop a negative animus, an inner voice that's critical, authoritarian, perfectionistic. It's like they internalized a judging father, which was often shaped by their relationship with their mother. That's because the mother may have been the first to reinforce ideas like you have to be strong, don't depend on anyone, be perfect. The wounded animus appears as extreme self-criticism, self-sabotage, and attraction to domineering or indifferent partners, repeating the cycle of not feeling valued. These archetypes aren't literal. They are symbolic forces in our psyche that deeply influence how we show up in love, how we give and receive affection. And until these internal images are healed, love will keep showing up with pain. But when you recognize that you've been loving from a place of wounding, you can begin to love from a place of awareness. A love that doesn't need to fix anything, just be present, one that doesn't repeat the past, it transforms it. But there's one wound that's even harder to recognize because it doesn't come through harshness or abandonment. It comes wrapped in a beautiful package with a ribbon of "I did everything for you" and poison inside. This is the wound of the narcissistic mother. Not every narcissistic mother yells, humiliates, or craves attention. Many are subtle, refined, well-liked socially. But at home, they create an emotionally suffocating environment where the child doesn't exist as an individual, only as an extension of her. Love exists, but it's conditional. You only deserve it if you please her, meet expectations, and don't threaten her ego. It's a bond that looks like affection but is really control. The narcissistic mother wants to be loved, admired, obeyed, and often envies her children's light. With daughters, she may compete, criticize their appearance, downplay their achievements. With sons, she may seduce emotionally, making them her symbolic partner, smothering their sense of self. Emotional manipulation is subtle. "After all I've done for you, you disappoint me. Don't be selfish." Praise, when it comes, is short-lived and always comes with a catch. This dynamic creates children who live for their mother's approval, trying to avoid rejection at all costs. They learn from an early age that their existence has to be useful, that they have to earn love, that they can't mess up, shine too bright, or go against her. Jung said that when a mother possesses her child's ego, the self cannot fully emerge. The self, the true identity, has no room to grow, constantly being shaped by the mother's desires. The child grows up with low self-esteem, a fragile identity, and an inner voice that repeats all the criticism they heard as a child. They live for others, feel guilty about everything, and deeply struggle to know who they are when they're not trying to please. The child adapts so much to the mother that, in the process, they lose touch with their own essence. And in adulthood, they keep adapting to everyone, at work, in relationships, in friendships. They're afraid to take up space, to be rejected, to just be themselves. But this psychological prison can be broken once you recognize the pattern. It's time to stop waiting for your mother to change, to let go of the illusion that one day the love will come the right way, and start rebuilding from the inside out a healthy ego, a you that wasn't born to serve but to exist. And this becomes even more urgent when you realize that, without meaning to, you're repeating with your own children the very pain you never managed to heal. It's time to break the cycle. If you're a parent, this shift isn't just about you, it's about ending a chain that may have lasted generations. Because healing isn't just your right, it's your greatest act of love for those who come after you. Many women who carry the mother wound become mothers with a silent fear, the fear of repeating with their children what hurt them the most. And that fear, as painful as it is already a sign of something powerful: awareness. Because those who repeat without guilt are still asleep in the cycle of unconsciousness. Those who fear repeating have already begun to awaken. The truth is, no woman mother comes out of her own childhood unscathed, and unfortunately, many carry unprocessed pain, unconscious expectations, and inherited patterns. Some, without meaning to, project onto their children what they didn't live, what they lacked, what they once dreamed for themselves. Others lose themselves trying to be everything their mothers weren't, and in the process lose themselves too. The good news is the cycle can only be broken, not through perfection, not with ready-made answers, but with presence. Being present with yourself is already an act of love that echoes into your children. Because children don't need perfect mothers, they need awake ones mothers who know how to pause, look within, notice when they're on autopilot, and choose differently. The cycle breaks because you choose to break it. When you start treating yourself with respect, the love you never received, when you forgive yourself for the mistakes you made before you had awareness, when you understand that raising yourself a child is also a way to heal, recreate yourself. Being a mother in this context is a constant exercise in emotional growth and responsibility. It means knowing that by holding your pain, you stop it from overflowing into your children, eyes of the next generation. It means giving your children the space to be freedom who they are, not who you had to become to survive. You don't have to carry the entire burden of the past. You can lay it down, the pain that's not yours to carry, and say, enough. You can start from a new place where no one ever started with you, and that alone is healing. Because one thing is certain, you can't change what happened, but you can change how much weight it still holds in your life. And that's not done through blame, nor by forgetting. It's done through healing. When you begin to explore the mother wound, it's common for anger to rise, and it needs to, because for a long time you tried to understand, to justify, to stay quiet. But suppressed anger turns into tension, into anxiety, into illness. Feeling anger toward your mother doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you someone who's beginning to recognize their own violated boundaries. But you have to be careful here, because healing isn't about placing all the blame on your mother. It's not about turning her into a villain and yourself into an eternal victim. Anger needs to be felt, but also processed, so you don't stay stuck in its grip. Healing anger is about moving beyond it, so it doesn't become just another form of emotional dependency. Jung spoke of the importance of independence, taking responsibility for your own story, not to carry guilt, but to gain freedom. When you heal, understand that your mother didn't act because of you. She acted from her own wounds. That doesn't justify what you experienced, but it gives you a choice to repeat or to transform. Healing begins when you let go of stop waiting for the apology that may never come, when you release the hope that she'll change or finally see you or give what she never gave, and choose to give it to yourself instead. One powerful practice exercise recommended by therapists, psychologists, and even in family dynamics constellation work is to write a letter to your mother. You don't have to give it to her. The letter is yours for you. Write what you never had the chance to say. Write it all, but it's not meant to be a neat, polished, or rational letter. It's raw, it's real. Pour out everything, the pain, the hurt, the grief, the guilt, the longing for what the silence meant to you, the silence, what was missing, what broke you. Don't overthink it, don't worry about the structure or order. I'm living proof that this works. This exercise helped me deeply. When I started writing, I didn't even know what I was going to write, but as the words came, so did memories I'd long buried forgot. And with them, I began to see patterns I'd never noticed before. I saw how my relationships, my insecurities, even issues in my own life, financial life, had roots way back in my childhood. And I only saw this because I allowed myself to write without judgment filters. So just do it, and once you've poured, let it all out, absolutely everything. Thank her for what was possible, for what brought you this far despite everything, despite it all. Forgive her your forgiveness for what she couldn't give you. Then burn the letter for real. Make it a ritual, a symbolic act of release. I swear to you, the relief I felt afterward was indescribable. It was like a part of a weight I'd carried for years finally lifted from my shoulders' body. From that moment on, my life started to shift. It was a turning point. So here's my challenge to you: write that letter truly. Then come back here and tell me in the comments how it was for you, because sometimes what you write might just help someone else who's also suffering in silence. Your experience could be the spark that someone else needs to begin their own healing. Forgiving isn't erasing forgetting, it's releasing the emotional chains that still tie you to the past. It's stopping the fight with what was so you can start living for what could still be. The pain may not completely vanish, but it changes its place. From a prison, it becomes a part of your story, and from there, you can write a new chapter. There are other practices that can help you rebuild yourself from within. Therapeutic writing, for example, goes far beyond the letter to your mother. You can write to your younger self. Picture yourself now at your current self-age, standing before looking into the eyes of the child you once were. What did they need to hear? What words were never spoken said to them? What did they deserve to know? Write it all down and read it aloud if you can. Let those words sink in. This begins to reprogram the image you carry of yourself from the inside out. Another powerful practice tool is the empty chair technique. Sit facing an empty chair and imagine your mother is sitting there. Speak to her, say what you never could. Then let yourself respond as if you were her. Feel it, cry, shout, or simply fall silent out. The goal isn't to have a logical, rational conversation, dialogue, but to release the emotional weight stored in your body. Meditation with archetypes can also be a powerful practice. Help. Visualizing healing, heal the archetypal mother in her nurturing, loving form, the one who nurtures, loves unconditionally, protects without judgment, can begin to replace the internalized negative image you've carried. You can imagine this archetypal mother holding, embracing you, shielding you, listening to you with love. Your unconscious mind understands the power of symbols, and these symbols can heal deeply. Jung also proposed active imagination, a technique where you engage in a dialogue with parts of your inner world psyche as if they're alive, as if they were living characters. This could be the wounded child, the inner mother, or even the critical voice inside you. What does she say to you? What do you say back to her? This kind of internal conversation encounter can be profoundly transformative, revealing truths buried deep within you. Reprogramming your internal bonds with your mother means starting to treat yourself with the care you once hoped to receive from your mother. Setting real boundaries with yourself and with her, if necessary, is a part of that. A boundary isn't a punishment, it's a gift protection to yourself. It's a way of saying, this is where my love for myself begins. Sometimes the truest form of love is the one that says, you can't cross me this anymore. Seeking support therapy is also an essential path, especially Jungian approaches or integrative approaches, that which dive deep into the unconscious, work with symbols, and the unconscious rebuilding of yourself. It's not about pointing fingers at blaming your mother. It's about finally looking at your pain with clarity, with the eyes of an adult, with love, and with courage. You don't have to do it all at once, and you don't have to do it alone. Every small step you take toward healing already begins to shift how you feel inside. And that shift, that reconnection, it has a name in psychology. It's called the process of becoming. It's about becoming, at long last, who you were always meant to be, not a reflection character shaped by pain, but your whole, authentic self. The mother wound, no matter how deep it runs, doesn't define who you are. It may have shaped parts of your path, but it doesn't have to dictate your destiny. Jung called this journey individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, integrating everything that was rejected, forgotten, or twisted to please others. It's not about becoming perfect, it's about the opposite. It's about becoming whole, embracing your light and your darkness shadow, your pain and your power. Individuation is the path to journey of leaving behind the conditioning of your past and returning to the core center of your being. To individuate is not to erase, it's about rejecting perfection, it's to embrace reclaiming your wholeness. It means to embrace your whole self, to hold your shame and your strength, courage, your fears and your dreams, your pain and your potential power. It's about to stop looking outside for the love that was missing and begin to generate it from within yourself. It's realizing that the wounded child still lives inside you, but now there is you, an adult you, who can protect them, nurture them, love them. This journey isn't always linear. Some days you'll feel free. Other days the pain will come rushing back, but now you know where you stand, you know where the pain comes from, and you know you have a choice. Individuation takes courage because it often means courage. It requires letting go of identities you thought were yours forever, but that were really built just to survive. It's like peeling off a tight outfit you've worn your whole life, and for the first time breathing freely with your chest wide. This process is about acknowledging what you didn't receive was missing, but also about creating what was never given to you. It means reclaiming the worth value of your own voice, your truth, desires, your existence itself. You are not defined by what was done to you. You are defined by who you choose to become now. And when you make that decision consciously, everything changes. Life shifts not because the past is erased, changes, but because you no longer let it define you. You stop being a reflection of someone else's pain and become the author of your own story. You've spent a lifetime searching, trying to understand why you didn't feel loved, trying to please, to mold yourself, shape yourself, to explain yourself, to fit into a space that wasn't built for you. But maybe now it's time to pause, to stop trying, to stop seeking love for love where it doesn't exist, and to start giving it, to offering yourself the love you've always deserved, longed for. It's not easy because behind that longing is a wounded child who just wanted to be seen, who hoped for a gesture, a look, a word to that would affirm their worth. But now sometimes that gesture never comes, and comes to keep chasing, searching it for where it never was will only keeps you trapped in the same emptiness. You don't need to beg for scraps of affection anymore. You don't need to prove you're worth anything anymore. What you felt was real and it's valid. The pain you carry is valid, but it doesn't have to lead your life anymore. Today you can choose yourself. Healing the mother wound isn't about severing, cutting ties. It's about shattering, breaking illusions. It's about realizing that no matter how much the past hurt you, the present is yours to shape in your hands. And you get to decide how to move forward with more truth, with more presence, with more love, the kind that heals, nurtures you, that holds you up, that sets you free. You're not alone in this. Thousands carry this silent pain, but your courage to face it already puts you in a new place. A place where there's no more shame, no shame in failing, no guilt for wanting to be whole. Carl Jung said, he who looks outside dreams dreams, he who looks inside awakens, inside awakens. And maybe, just maybe, now you're ready to awaken. Don't wait for the past to give you permission. Validate yourself, you are enough. Don't wait for someone else to love you. Love first. Love yourself first. A story that began in pain can end in reconnection. And that reconnection starts with you. You can begin it right here in this moment and now, to build a love that doesn't depend on anyone's approval, a being accepted. A love that simply is, because you are. If this video stirred something deep in you, that's already a sign your healing journey process has begun, and you don't have to walk it alone. Subscribe to the channel now and turn on the notification bell because in the next videos we're going to dive even deeper into this journey topic, with more tools, more insights, reflections, and paths to help you liberate yourself emotionally and reclaim yourself, really are to your own story. And if you've made it this far, I want to ask you for one thing. Comment below with the words, "I choose to set myself free." That's how I'll know you stayed with me until the end. And more than that, I'll know that you're ready to take this step with intention. See you in the next video.